Hi friends, welcome back to Via Meditation channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about one simple exercise which is to stop expressing the negatives. Before I come to that exercise, I want to go back to a topic of self-observation. Both Krishnamurti and George Gurdjieff, both the masters laid very special emphasis on self-observation. In George Gurdjieff's system, he laid an extremely high emphasis for a spiritual seeker or anyone who's working on himself to make a record of these observations. So he says that a seeker is required to make self observations and keep a record of it. And then in another related segment, he also says that a person will forget to take these self observations. Because he will forget to take these self observations, there is a requirement of a mystery school or a spiritual center where someone else who is at a higher level of consciousness can keep record of these observations on behalf of the person who is likely to miss it. So he says that a person is very habitual. We are a being of habit, and habitually we tend to become mechanical and forget self-observation, which is true for most of us. How much ever we may try, we tend to forget. Very often we do lose self-observation because we get occupied with some work which could be meaningful. But very often, as Gurdjieff says, that we lose ourselves in self-talk, wasteless thoughts, and even daydreaming, which is actually the complete opposite of self-observation. Now, this is a problem. He also says another very interesting thing is that out of habit, most of us have this tendency to express negatives all the time. Like for example, if it's raining, some of us will just say it's raining. If it's very hot, we'll say, oh, it's too sunny. If it's cold, it's freezing. So we always have some kind of a negative, or sort of a displeasure. We express our displeasure for almost every situation. If the food is spicy, it's too spicy. If it's bland, it's too bland. So if you start making an observation, a self-observation of how many times in a day you are expressing negative or you are expressing displeasures, you will be shocked to see how much of that happens in the day. So this is a very important exercise. I call this as stop expressing the negative. But the problem with this exercise is that most of us will forget to observe this. But if you can do this for a focused couple of hours, make a note of how many times you express negative, you will actually be very surprised. Once you reach a point where you start observing the amount of negatives that we express in the day, is a time when you can actually start working on it. Once you identify the gravity of the problem, is a time you can actually go and work and find a solution around it. Try to reduce expressing the negative. And that has a profound change in how you behave. Once you start expressing this negative, when you stop expressing this negative, initially it might be an exercise in suppression, but coupled with meditation exercise, you will reach a point where you will stop expressing negative, and a few months later you will realize you don't feel things to be as negative. You will start coming in the center. So it's very strange, that when we are attached to things, when we are highly, moved by situations which could be good or bad, we tend to either feel too happy or tend to feel upset. But when we start detaching ourselves, we not only stop expressing negative, we also feel it lesser. It's a very deep exercise. Now, the benefits of this you can only get to know once you try it out. So my request is, try for 2 hours in a day and keep a note, keep a record of self-observation of how much negative have you expressed or how much displeasure have you shown about any situation. And you will be shocked if you're honest to yourself. And of course, if you are able to remember to do that, then you start changing. You stop expressing the negative. The other thing which Gurdjieff mentions about a similar topic is that when you try to focus on one thing, there could be something else which could go wrong. So there could be a genius working on a project, but he could become forgetful, like a genius professor who doesn't know where the umbrella is. So you are focused on one thing and you become forgetful about something else. If you try to work on a jealousy, you may work on it, but you may become irritable. So when you work on one thing, there is a chance that you may actually spoil something else. But when you stop expressing negative, there's no what you call a counterproductive outcome of this exercise. So that's this exercise seems very simple. It seems too elementary, but it is not. If you can genuinely try and attempt this, you will see a big change, a possibility of a big change coming in you. The other thing which I want to want you guys to do this exercise also is because a lot of people practice positive thinking. The positive thinking that happens on a conscious level. But when you start observing the amount of negative and amount of displeasures that you express all the time, which you are not aware of, then you will see that your positive thinking is too shallow. There's a lot of negative which is built up already. There's a lot of unfavorable displeasure that we are all the time expressing. So when you do this exercise and you can actually eradicate this habit out of your life, your positive thinking will also improve. Till then, your positive thinking will just be a pale shadow of your negativity which is getting expressed all the time. So try this exercise, and I'm telling you it looks easy. This exercise is not easy. Give it a try and leave a comment. What did you observe about how much negative did you express in a day or in a window of 2 hours, as the case of your experiment may be. Thank you. Keep watching, and please subscribe and share the video. Meditation is a very hard subject to promote, and I seek your help.